Welcome to another episode of Singapore's Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the investment team. And today we'll be looking at the top performing launches that's TOP in 2022 as well as 2023.
So last time, Grace and Caleb covered the worst performing new launches that TOP in 2022 and 2023. And the video was a little long, so we had some feedback. We decided to cut it up into 3 parts for this series instead.
So today we'll be talking about the third best performing new launch.
That TOP in 2022 2023. So before we start, we have some caveats. So number 1, the performance is calculated based on the annual capital gain from launch to TOP. And for this, we want it to be realized gains because there are some other cases where we did an analysis based on the earliest PSF when they launched to when they TOP, but I realized it may not be as accurate because the lowest PSF that came in could be low floor, while those that are selling is high floor. So it's not a very direct representation.
Yeah, so to put it simply, how we actually got the annualized capital gains, what we did was for all the transactions that has been transacted, there's an annualized capital gains, and then we took the sum of all of these and then we divided by the total number of transactions, and that's how we actually got the average for each development. And then we rank it based on top to bottom.
Yes, indeed. And with this, we have a total of condos that TOP in 2022-2023, we actually look at 99-year leasehold and more than 100 plus units for big developments. And take note, each development that make money in these cases, they have a certain unique characteristic that may or may not apply to another. So this objective of why we're doing this is to figure out what are some of the characteristics and unique characteristics of these developments to give it its boost in price. Okay, and take note, these common factors may not apply to development that launched in a different time period. So it's only during this period for 2022-2023 TOP.
Yeah.
So let's hop on to number 3 in the list. And we have Parc Esta. So yes, where's Parc Esta? Grace, can you bring us through?
Okay, so let's take a look at Parc Esta. The developer's actually MCL land, and it's built on a huge plot of land at 34,998 square meters. So number of units is 1,399 units.
Lots of units.
Yeah, a mega development. And then completion was a very new unit in 2022, so just last year.
Yep, so this development you can see the rental yield is pretty high, 4.24%. We're currently average indicative price going 2,100 per square feet. So it's a very good sign, and that's something that we are exploring on what allows this capital appreciation to happen for this development.
Yeah.
So next up, let's take a look at the surrounding developments. Grace can bring us through.
Yeah, so something that's very interesting, you can see that surrounding Parc Esta, all of the developments are all freehold, and a lot of them are smaller boutique developments, whereas Parc Esta, I think it's a very unique unique development in the area, being the 99-year-old condo and something that is 1,300, almost 1,400 units.
Yes, indeed. And it's a blockbuster launch and first big development around the area that came up. Haven't been seeing such developments. Yeah. And next, let's take a look at performance. So performance-wise, you can see on the first day of launch, okay, people are wary. You say 1,400 units. It sounds familiar. Some of our clients are telling us that so many units, only 30% sold on the first day is bad. But you can see Parc Esta, those who were bought on the first day, there was a total of 348 units sold, and there's only 25% of all the supply.
But if you actually do some search online, they'll tell you 70+% sold because they only released 450 units. But it's more like a marketing gimmick. Yes.
Yeah, for mega launches, they realize this one to show that it
looks better on paper as compared to seeing that I only sold 24.87%.
Yep, you're right. So there's something that we noticed, very interesting. And in terms of the prices, you can see it's one of the top 3 performing launches where the annualized capital gain is 5.74% per annum. And with today's, as I mentioned, it's a rental yield 4.24%. And it's understandable because rental is high, big development, nice place, good facilities, which we'll explore later on. One of the key elements. All right. And you can see the price stage very well from the start all the way to the end. Okay, that allows the price to rise along with the rising land bids that we'll explore. Okay, so next up, Grace, can you run us through the capital gains? What are the returns?
So for profitable transactions, we're seeing 147 of them. And good news is unprofitable transactions, we're looking at 0 transactions. So even for profitable transactions, what we want to always also look at is what is the profit you're looking at. Because there could be many profitable transactions, but if it's not to a certain amount, after factoring in all the costs of your agent fees, your stamp duties, usually you're not left with much. So if you take a look, you can see that, like 926 square feet, our profit is looking at about 410,000. So it's a very healthy profit. We're looking at smaller unit, you're looking at about 269,000, bigger units at 590,000. So
wow, this is amazing.
I would say that profits wise, it's a very healthy profit that these first owners are going to be exiting with.
Yes, so something to note is the bigger units, you can see over here, the PSF rise is actually quite high. It allows it to hedge against, even given that this is an RCR project with family base, this is something of higher demand. But even if you look at the smaller units like 581 square feet or even 420 square feet, the one bedders, the price gain also is quite decent, but slightly lower as compared to the bigger bedroom types.
So I think we have seen some sort of shift in terms of PSF. There was a time where the bigger the unit, the lower the PSF. But after COVID, we're kind of seeing a shift because people realize the importance of bigger space. For example, 3 bedders with a home shelter and without a home shelter. So depending on the areas, if the area is catered more to family and people do prefer a home shelter, then such units or such layout, despite being bigger in size, their per square feet may be higher than these smaller units.
Yes, indeed. All right, so next up, let's take a look at the reasons why did it do so well despite all the things I mentioned, like big development, lots of units, supply. Yeah, so the first reason we take a look at is entry price. So interestingly, the launch premium, okay, some developer nowadays could be charging 25 to 30 to 40% above all this break-even price, but Parc Esta was a little more conservative, going at 1,700. I mean, most are 1,600. With some of our clients who bought this area, they make this amount. But back then, 1,600 in the perspective, people was like, hey, it's a crazy price. That was back then. But something to note is when you see upcoming land bids around the area in the RCR region launching at much higher prices, this is something that you hedge against. In terms of break-even price, the price difference between this launch price and break-even is only 17.9%, below 20%, which gives a very safe buffer in terms of pricing.
Yep. So when we look at comparisons, because the surrounding-wise, you're all looking more of a small development freehold projects, so it's not really an apple-to-apple comparison. So we take a look a bit further. We actually have Bedok residences as well as Park Place residences at Paya Lebar area. So if we were to look at the map, we can then see that the one closer, the purple one, is actually Park Place residence, and then we have Parc Esta, which is in the middle, before we reach to Bedok residences. So if we look at comparison-wise, Park Place residences at Paya Lebar area is actually completed in 2020. So it's 2 years older as compared to Parc Esta, and for Bedok residences, TOB will be 2015, which is 7 years older.
Okay, so if you look at the prices, okay, and compare Parc Esta to that of Park Place, which is at Paya Lebar, closer to the city, but it's already a 3 to 4 years old project back then. Parc Esta, for a new launch price, 1,700 per square feet, it's actually cheaper than a resale at 2,000 per square feet back then. And because we can't compare the surrounding like freehold small projects, so we're looking at projects that's near MRT. So you can see if you can buy a new launch cheaper than a resale or something comparable or one MRT stop apart, these are things that you can use it to hedge the price against. And subsequently, naturally, you'll hit 2,122 because you can see both a 99-year. You can actually meet the price of a resale later on to justify the pricing. And if you compare to Bedok residences, which is 2 MRT stop down and is known as OCR, which is our central region, outskirts of city, as compared to that of Parc Esta, which is RCR.
And something that is 7-year-old newer also.
Correct. 7-year-old, 8 years old newer than Bedok residence. For a difference of only 100, 200 per square feet, it is not very significant. They allow Parc Esta to present as a well-valued choice. And this allows them to enter the right entry price to hedge against it to make the profit we see today. Okay, so with this, let's look at the quantum play. Okay, so Grace, can you bring us through the numbers?
So in terms of quantum play, we can actually see that back then, Parc Esta, you look at average quantum, it's much lower than Bedok residence and Park Place residences. Firstly, because being a newer development, if you're familiar, developers are building them smaller and smaller. So this could also relate to your total quantum, even though your per square feet may be higher, but due to a smaller size, your total quantum price you're paying could be the same or sometimes even lower than a resale property. Yeah, so this is an important factor that we'll be looking at also when we look at new launches or when we look into properties. Not only do we have to be concerned about the per square feet, but also about the quantum, because it's about when you're exiting, what are competitors selling a two beta versus a 2 beta, or a 3 beta versus a 3 beta.
Yes, indeed. And sometimes a PSM is misleading. It may seem that hey, it's higher, but actually in terms of quantum, it's cheaper. And when it comes to selling, the space is well utilized and it's something of a decent choice. Naturally, the 2 betas of here you see for Parc Esta is 1.192 as compared to Bordeaux Residences and your Park Place, where they're going at a much higher price. Naturally, you can hash a price against it and be able to make the profit margin. Okay, so it's something that we do consider. All right, so let's take a look at the next factor. Okay, so the second factor we have over here is a pent-up demand. So Grace, can you bring us through what is this factor about?
So pent-up demand both in rental as well as purchase. So the location might also play a factor. Firstly, because it's near to the MRT, so definitely location, it may appeal to a group of people who, increase the rentability of it because it's much more convenient. And just one stop away from PLQ where you have all your shoppings and amenities. The second will also be the relocation of Paya Lebar Airbase. So as we do know, once the Paya Lebar Airbase is actually relocated out, this entire area will be reconverted, and government has actually mentioned that there'll be increased job opportunities, which also mean that people will want to stay within or close by areas to make it convenient to go to work. You also have better connectivity as well as more amenities around the area once this whole plot of land is cleared.
Yeah, indeed. So this kind of news that is up in the market where she create a kind of like a demand in the space. If hey, this is a new place that we're coming into, Paya Lebar is shifting. And PLQ Mall, there are quite a few malls that came up also that increased the demand. But one thing is also, you can see, as I mentioned just now, around the area at Parc Esta, there was no big development. I mean, no decent near MRT kind of big development. And most are small boutique size. So we have a brand new development come into the picture. Naturally, the demand was swamping. And as a resale project, upon TOP, this is when we hatch upon this profit margin to make the difference. All right, so there's something very important. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at the third factor. Okay, so we notice that the architect, okay, and also the fact that it's a big plot of land, they're able to make a big development very beautiful. Yeah, and you can see for landscaping wise, it's very, very nicely thought out. We have a 2, 4, 6, 8, even 9 blocks over here that makes it very nicely designed. And fun fact, architect is P&T Consultant Private Limited. So this particular project, the developer had chosen the architect that has done design excellence since 1868.
Yep, definitely. So they do have a long history of track records, and this is something that buyers may take into consideration or actually buy into a development, because they want to ensure that not only is it livable in the house itself, but also the entire landscaping and how the amenities and facilities are played out in the development.
Yes, indeed. And if you look at the pictures they have done up, and as you go to visit this condominium itself, it's very nicely done up. It's a well maintained, very you have the feel of luxe to some extent, but of course for mass project is something that's worth looking forward to. And fun fact, we had a listening meditation there, went now to take a look, amazing place, and we also met my architect friend there, just to ID design, and they were like saying, wow, this is one of the better projects I've seen for TOP. So it's something that is very interesting. Yeah. And then other than that, we have factor number 3 still about design and facility quality along with big developments. It come with a very well sought out kind of a unique mix from the 1 beta all the way to 5 betas. It gives a very nice life to it. And one thing to note is one example that with poor unique mix example is itinerary. There was one case where we see that last time, why did they make money? Before the entry price was shipped today, before that it was priced wrongly. But not just that, a lot of them are the 1 to 2 betas. They actually cause the whole entire unit mix to be not as great to exit as compared to something that is of a high quality unit of from 1 to the 5 betas. But of course, that's why the price was depressed for some time until recently when the PSF wise seems to be cheaper. It's hard to be on a slightly upward trend. So there's something that we also notice, the importance of unit mix, not just buying into a nice development, but also understanding who are the target audience and how can we increase the hype of the place itself. All right, so next up, let's take a look at some of the factors that did not hinder appreciation. Grace, can you bring us through?
Yep. So I think for these factors, if you were to pinpoint some of the negative things or some of the cons of the development, it could be that some of the units are actually facing Sims Avenue and Changi Road. So for those who are particular about road noises, are you particular about road noises?
I love road noises.
Really?
Okay, just give me some life, Like, so I feel like I'm actually I'm not in like a quiet place. Somewhere it's a bit scary.
For me, I'm not super particular because when I sleep, I really sleep. But I know that there are buyers who are very particular because they're very light sleepers. So these are some of the things that you will have to consider when getting a unit in the development. The next one will also be there's also next to a place of worship. Next to a mosque. So this could be consideration for some of the buyers also. And last but not least, because of your location, you're very close to the MRT. So of course, there will be some units that, you could hear the MRT tracks. But of course, if you close your windows, then the sounds will be too minimal.
Yeah, and one thing to add on, for the place of worship, it's very important because a lot of people say, hey, it's near a temple, a mosque, a church. Some people say church also. And they say that, hey, these places it's not very great for appreciation value. I mean, it's a common objection you see in the buyer side. But what we notice is all these things, it doesn't matter as much because at the end of the day, if the price is right, if you know that the entry price is of below intrinsic value, if you enter, and at the end of the day, you see the price will still go up despite all these factors. And one example is that, near to Bishan area, the entire resale, people say it's near Guangmingshan, it's near a temple with people burning incense and things like that. But what we noticed is at the end of the day, the price over there went up by 50 to 60% in just a period of time where the entry price is right. So at the end of the day, all these factors, we heard a lot of this, people say near all these things, but at the end of the day, it's not really just about all the quality factors, what is hearsay, but the data speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So with this, we come to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoy the brief summary of how all these big developments or rather these top performing projects actually perform because of all these unique factors to itself. And this will see more repetition of these factors, which we'll dissect more as we go to the other videos. And we hope that you enjoy this series. Okay. Before we end, do remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow our Telegram group over here. And we hope to feed you with the newest updates on the market, home tour videos, and most importantly, good lobangs if there are any in the market today. So with this, we come to the end of this video. This is Christian.
This is Grace, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.